40 days, 40 nights, taunting them. And David comes into this situation not knowing anything about it. His dad sent him on an errand, a basic, practical, nothing kind of, errand. Carry these cheeses to the captains of the military and these breads to your brothers. And he grabbed his cart. He left the sheep that he was caring for in another person's care. And then he grabbed the cart with the bread and the cheese, and he went to the battlefield, found his family, his brothers, and found the captains, delivered those breads and cheeses as his father called him to. And then Goliath came out, and lo and behold, as he was going for his father, he came across this opportunity. This speaks very loudly to us. This is something I didn't point out last week, which I want to just in passing kind of bring it to your attention. That when you are faithful in those little, seemingly insignificant tasks like carrying cheeses and bread, you will find yourself eventually in a greater arena for the Lord. Find yourself in the place where you are faithful. That's the key. Wherever you are right now, be faithful to the Lord. And as we're going to read even later, relative to another passage in our story here, Zechariah, there's a wonderful verse there where the Lord is speaking by the Spirit through Zechariah to Zerubbabel. And he says, do not despise the day of small things. So very important for us as Christians, because we get so sidetracked by other things that look greater and better and just more pleasing to us or more desirable to us. It's a very insidious thing that happens, and it repeats itself throughout our lifetime, to be honest. This whole thing of comparing our lives with other people's lives, comparing our trials with other people's trials. And we thought, oh man, if I could only have those trials, that would be easy. My trials, they're crazy, but their trials, cut me a break. That's child's play. And we tend to just measure things like this. But look, it's all, and I don't mean to sound postmodern, but look, it is really all relative when it comes to trials. Where are you with the Lord? It's between you and the Lord. What trials he allows to come into your life is relative to you and your walk with the Lord. And therefore, your trial will seem like the biggest thing in the world to you, while someone else will look at it like, that really? You want me to pray for you for that? Like, it's just a dentist appointment, man. Relax. I mean, that's how we are. But look, as we go about our lives, the small things that we're tending to, those things that seem insignificant, just being faithful in the home, if you're a husband, a wife, a mother, a father, taking care of those everyday little, things that need to be taken care of. Like, I remember Joe Foch sharing a story that, if you don't know who Joe Foch is, he's pastor of Calvary Chapel, Philadelphia. He's one of my favorite Bible teachers to listen to, has been for a long time. And he's got a massive church of 10,000 adults, that's not counting the children. And that's every Sunday, 10,000 adults gather at this church. 3 morning services, 1 evening service, 4 Sunday services. I can hardly speak. I used to do 2 Sunday services when I was going to Sunday evening services to teach out in Helsinki, and I did that for years. And at the end of just 2 services, my voice was gone. I just don't know how these pastors do it in America that teach 4 Sunday services on a Sunday morning, and they're full hour-long services. It's just really wow. But anyway, Joe Foch was saying that he was preparing for Sunday service, and it was Friday or Saturday night, so Sunday obviously quickly approaching, and he's like, he finishes dinner, and he steals away up into his study upstairs, away from the kitchen and the dirty dishes. And he goes to sit down to study and to prepare for Sunday, and the Holy Spirit tapped on his heart and said, what are you doing up here? He said, well, I'm preparing for Sunday. He's like, yeah, but don't you need me to do that? He's like, of course. And obviously he's not hearing voices. This is how he told the story, what the Lord was impressing upon his heart. He says, yeah, of course I need you to be with me as I prepare. He's like, well, that's interesting because I'm not going to be here with you. I'm going to be downstairs with your wife doing dishes. So he got up from his study, went down to help his wife do the dishes. And we often sort of relegate those seemingly insignificant tasks to mean nothing in spiritual currency before the Lord, like it means nothing in his economy. But actually, it means a great deal. Those little things, if we can be faithful in those little things, like David was taking care of the sheep. Remember, he left his sheep. He didn't even, when his dad gave him another task to do, carry these cheeses and bread, he said, well, I need to make sure the sheep are covered while I'm gone in my absence. So then he handed the sheep into a caretaker while he was absent. And then he went to go take care of that little, seemingly insignificant task. And he found himself in a greater place of service for the Lord, in a greater place of use for God's kingdom, where he would be thrust into the public eye. And God prepares us in those obscure tasks where no one sees, no one knows, and only God gets the glory, and we do it with a joyful heart. And he prepares us in those obscure tasks for the greater, more public tasks. He makes our heart right, the motive for serving him right, before he gives us great public service tasks. And this is what's going on in David's life. He was faithful in those little things, and he was thrust suddenly